I've loved animation since I was in high school. I had a little comic strip in the local paper, and I would experiment with a 8mm camera. It was enough to help me get into film school. I got an internship with Chuck Jones and his art director, Maurice Noble. And Chuck was the director of some of the most famous Looney Tunes in the 1950s and 60s. I was a creative director at Cartoon Saloon, and I left to do films with more spiritual aspects. My friend Tom Moore at Cartoon Saloon called me up and said, "Hey, would you be interested in this 21 Martyrs project?" It's exactly the type of project I've been praying for and wanting to be involved with. Originally, our schedule was very, very short, and we were going to do something very, very simple. But the more we got into the story, it just felt like it needed more to do it justice. One of the hard things about the story is that we kept getting information. One week, I talked to a journalist who had been based in Libya and had been inserted with the military there, and he had video of the prison they were kept in, visited that place. So he was able to tell me about it. Those little details, they're important. When I went to Egypt, I spent a lot of time with Coptic illustrators to learn how they approach design, color, shape. We started with concept art to figure out what even a prop looks like. A donkey or a hammer or whatever it is has to be designed and thought of before we even start animation. And that developed into a storyboard. After that, you go into background layout and the character layout. We have to design each character, 21 martyrs and 21 guards. We didn't want any one martyr to seem more important than any of the others. They're all a reflection of Christ. We have a color script where we line all the scenes up in little thumbnails and make sure the color flows and the lighting flows and that it hits the emotional points that we need. And then we try to lay in some music and make sure the voices are all working and the right sound effects. What is the sound of God? Is it the wind? Is it a violin? And then we put all those things together with the lighting and the effects and the texture. We have worked with artists in Europe, Asia, Central America, everywhere. One of the challenges of working with such an international crew is we have animators working thousands and thousands of miles apart and trying to make it feel like it's done by one person. Sometimes I'll have 1 a.m. conference calls with artists any time of night or day, just depending on their schedules. And a lot of them are working on jobs full-time, so this is something they're doing on weekends on the side. It is a story about Christians who are martyred, but we've had Muslims working on this, we've had Buddhists working on this. There's something about this that speaks to a lot of the artists in a very deep way. We're very fortunate to have the Ayub sisters working with us on the music for the film. They're Coptic Christians who were raised in Scotland, and what they bring to the music is a little bit of both cultures.
Sarah and I first got into music when we were very young kids. We both initially started on the piano. Of course, because Sarah started having a go at lessons, I was like, I want to have a go too. We were quite serious about practice from a really young age. Weekly lessons that started with just half an hour and progressed to an hour and then progressed to an hour and a half. Around the age of 12, 13 is when we both enrolled in a specialist music school in Glasgow called Douglas Academy. Getting piano and violin and singing lessons and composition and harmony and oral and theory gave us so many opportunities to perform, to compete, to play in orchestras, to sing in choirs. It was really unheard of to pursue a musical career in our family. Our parents have always loved and appreciated music, but that's kind of where it stops. When they were growing up in Egypt, they didn't really have the opportunity to try playing a musical instrument. Sarah and I both played the piano, I play the violin, and she plays the cello, and we both compose and arrange music as well. I grew up with a true sense of Egyptian identity. We would spend 2 weeks every maybe Easter or summer to go to Egypt to visit our grandparents and our extended family, drawing inspiration from folk music from Egypt, from Lebanon, from Tunisia, Algeria, and also composing music inspired by our experiences in the Middle East growing up. Sarah and I didn't exactly decide one day we're going to be the Ayub sisters. We fell into many really lucky experiences very early on, most notably the Royal Albert Hall, where we made our debut 2016. Sarah and I were offered a recording contract with Universal Music in 2017, and we recorded in Abbey Road Studios. Everything about that was just, is this really happening to us? Are we really doing this? And we're now out of the other side, and we are just about to release our second album, which is all dedicated to Arabic music. A real kind of 360 coming back to our roots. We received an email, we're making a film about this and we want you to be involved in a creative way. It was just, yes, this is the kind of thing that we want to be involved in. I remember saying to Sarah, I would be heartbroken if they went with anyone else to write the music for this, because nobody will care more than we do. It's been lots of conversations, lots of brainstorming, lots of research, lots of trying to find inspiration within melodies in the liturgy. We're not just making something to remind people of how terrible this event was. There is an angle of hope in showing how devout these men were and how brave they were. That's definitely our biggest challenge, to write something that makes people feel that sense of hope at the end.
Animation is poetic. It's drawn by a hand. It can tell stories that live action can't. We did our very best to be as accurate as possible in the telling of the story. I want the families of the martyrs to be proud of the story we're telling, because their faith was so deep